The last video that we watched was using trig to find angles. Today we're going to use trig to find side lengths. We have our eye. I'm just going to recap really quickly. The side across from it is your opposite side. The hypotenuse is the longest side. It's opposite of your 90 degrees. And the adjacent is the side that is beside your eye. Okay, now this gives way to three different formulas. Your sine, cos, and tan formulas, these are relationships between the opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. Now, in order to memorize the order of these formulas, you might want to learn this phrase, SOHCAHTOA. Let's take a look at today's tutorial. Side lengths. Here you have a triangle DEF, and they wanted you to find the side length, little f. Just to recap, little f is over here across from big F, so that's where your unknown is. I'm going to draw my eye in this corner instead of corner D because it has a 58 degrees there. Okay, so from my eyeball, this side is my opposite. My longest side is over here, that's my hypotenuse, and the adjacent is at the bottom. All right. Your decision now is to figure out, am I going to use sine, cos, or tan to determine what f is? And I'm going to show you how to determine that. If you have f, that's your unknown, that's probably pretty important. And then you have 12, that's probably going to be pretty important. But notice that adjacent doesn't really have a number or a letter. That's going to be useless. Why don't we just get rid of that? All right, so that narrows it down to us having to use opposite and hypotenuse. Which of the three primary trig ratios uses opposite and hypotenuse? That looks like it's going to be sine. That tells me that I'm going to use a sine formula. Okay, let's start filling it in now. So sine theta, your theta is your angle, which is 58 degrees, is equal to opposite, and that's your unknown, over hypotenuse, which was 12. Okay, so your goal is to find little f, and this is how you do it. There is an invisible 1 underneath this sine 58 degrees, and that's because it's a whole number. Now that we have two fractions and they equal each other, let's cross multiply. Okay, so f times 1 is just f. You have 12 times sine 58 degrees. Okay, and you just punch it all into your calculator. 12 times sine 58, let's see, 12 times sine 58. I got 17, and so on. They want you to round to the nearest tenth, which is 1 decimal place, and that means the 7 is going to round up that 1 to a 2. Okay, so we've rounded. I want you to put an approximation sign, and then we're also going to put the units, centimeters. Since this is a word problem, we're just going to put a therefore statement. F is 10.2 centimeters long. Okay. The next question we have is a word problem. I don't know why they always ask ladder problems leaning against buildings, but anyways, I'm going to draw a picture just to kind of get a sense of what I'm looking at. So here's my building. I'm going to give them windows. Okay, and we have our ladder. Okay, it's a wonky ladder, but whatever. Okay, so there's my ladder. Now let's read the question. The foot of the ladder is 3 meters from the base of the building. So here's the foot of the ladder to the base of the building, that's 3 meters. And it makes a 74-degree angle with the ground. That means that the 74 degrees is down here, since they said with the ground. That means it's not in this corner. Okay. Calculate the length of the ladder to the nearest tenth of a meter. We know that this is a 90-degree triangle. At least I'm hoping so. I mean, I'm hoping that the building is not crooked. But you're looking for x. All right. I'm hoping that all of you guys can see the triangle. It's right here. Here's your right angle triangle. There we go. Okay. Remember that your eye is going to go where the angle is. So again, that's right here. Here's your eyeball. That means that this side is your opposite. Here's your hypotenuse and your adjacent. In this case, I'm going to be using my hypotenuse because I have my x. I'm going to be using the adjacent because I have my 3, but I'm probably not going to use the opposite because there's nothing there. It's not going to be useful to me. Let's go back and take a look at what uses your adjacent and hypotenuse. Adjacent and hypotenuse, well, that's cos. Okay, so cos theta is adjacent over hypotenuse, and start filling everything in. So cos, your angle is 74 degrees, equals adjacent, which was your 3, and your x is your hypotenuse. Just like we did last time, you're going to put a 1 underneath, okay, and then you're going to cross multiply. All right. Cos 74 degrees times x, cos 74 degrees is equal to 1 times 3, which is just 3. Now, this one looks a little bit different than the last one, and that's because your x ended up on the bottom instead of at the top, and that's okay. So all you're going to do is you're going to divide both sides by cos 74 degrees so that that crosses off. Cos 74 degrees. And you're going to get x by itself, which is 3 divided by cos 74. I got 10.8838 and so on. And they said to the nearest tenth again. So that is 1 decimal place, and that second 8 is going to round up that first 8. So 10.9. Approximation dot because you rounded, and this said to the nearest meter. All right, quick therefore statement. Therefore, the length of the ladder is 10.9 meters.